What's up there, guys? Railroad Wanderer here, redoing one of my older videos. Well, let's say rehashing, if you want to call it that, of, lo and behold, my Yu-Gi-Oh! Original anime / manga based Yami Bakura deck profile. So, without further ado, let's jump right in with the first card, Souls of the Forgotten. And if you remember from our last video, the way we do this is for monsters we do lowest level to highest, and if we have multiples of the same level, we do lowest attack to highest attack, and then so on and so forth. So yeah, probably the most worthless card in the deck, just there for dark necrophilia and more tribute fodder. Nothing much there. Now away from that, we're moving to one of the good cards in this deck, Jaugen the Spiritualist. A board wipe for all special summon monsters at the cost of a random discard. 200 attack might not be much, but still a pretty good card nonetheless. Next up, we have Sangen. Searches out anything with 1500 attack or less. Just good all around generic search power. And it fits the theme of fiends and zombies and other dark spirit type beings in this deck, so yeah, pretty cool. Next we have 2 Earthbound Spirit. Probably the best in terms of low level defense with 2000. Definitely great in character deck duels, and that artwork though, just so intriguing on what's going on even. It's like he's trying to come out of the depths of hell or something. Really quite incredible. Next is 2 Goblin Zombie. This card is pretty good. Stats may not be the greatest, and it might not work for Dark Necrophilia, but it makes up for that in its effects, where if it inflicts battle damage to your opponent, they're forced to send the top card of their deck to the graveyard. And if it's destroyed, if it's sent from the field to the graveyard, you can search out any zombie type monster with 1200 defense or less. So yeah, that's a good card. Now we have Portrait Secret. This card is probably the most meh, mainly because it's just like, its stats are just mediocre, I guess. 1200 attack and 1500 defense is not bad, but it's not great either. It still has its purposes. Gurnia, 1300 attack, 1200 defense. Its effect will barely get off, if any, if at all, I should say. But the artwork is really cool on that. It's like some rhino zombie thing, just by all that horns, and really cool, like the gems too on the chest. Really amazing. Next we have Gross Ghost of Fled Dreams. This is a pretty good card in this deck, and especially for character deck duels. 1300 attack, 1800 defense. All around a good card. At least in this deck. Headless Knight. So our next one, just let focus in, there we go. Basically the best in terms of attack at 1450 and 1700 defense, so probably the best all around. Just having that decent stats, to say the least. And now we're going to get into the high level monsters. 1 level 5, which is Earl of Demise. Just 2000 attack, 700 defense. Pretty good for 1 tribute, and being a level 5 at that. It's probably one of the better level 5s in this game that's a normal. Because as we all know, lots of normal level 5s are pretty crappy. Next, our level 6s, we have Puppet Master. Basically a soul charge, I say, for the deck at the cost of a tribute. If you attribute summon for this card, you'd pay 2,000 life points. Well, you can't, it's optional, but most likely if you're summoning it even, you're going to want to do that. You special summon 2 fiend type monsters from your graveyard, but they can't attack that turn. I say it's pretty good. Brings out tribute fodder, that's always good. Next up is 2 of one of the best cards in the deck. Just let focus in there. Dark Ruler Hades. All around a good card. 2450 attack is really good in this deck. Not only that, but it negates the effects of all monsters destroyed by battle with fiends, which is pretty much all of them except for 4. So yeah, good card. Good card. Not much needs to be said there. Next is Dark Necrofear. One of his more key and more prominent cards in Battle City, at least in terms of Bakura. The card all around is a pretty good boss monster compared to what all the other characters have. It may not have support, but by itself, as a standalone card, it's pretty good. Doesn't take up your normal summon. For a level 8, it has pretty good stats. And it also has a pretty good effect. When it's sent to the graveyard, you can basically target one of your opponent's monsters and take control of it at the end phase. That artwork is just so creepy and cool at the same time. I really like it. I've been a person for like certain creepy things. Next up are spells, starting off with Premature Burial. Only equipped spell in the deck. Basically a worse Monster Reborn, but one of the better revival cards in the game. Cost 800 life points, just special summon a monster from your graveyard. Not much more needs to be said. One of the more popular cards for Bakura, and one of the key cards in his strategy, Dark Sanctuary. He uses this in his Destiny board strategy to essentially play them all on the field easier without having to take up as many spaces as you would just regularly playing it. So yeah, it's good. It's good all around, gotta say. Next up, Monster Reborn. Basically every deck would run this because it's a staple in that time. Shallow Grave. A decent revival card, but it requires your opponent to have a monster in their graveyard too. And they get to choose what they bring back, so that can lead to awkward predicaments sometimes, but most of the time it works out. It does its purpose. Spiritualism, interesting card. One card Giant Trunade for your opponent, basically targeting only one spell or trap card, returning it to the hand on your opponent's side of the field. And then basically what happens is, okay, never mind. Basically what I'm trying to say is this was only used in the manga by Bakura in his duel against Bones by a different name. I don't remember it off the top of my head, but if you look at the wiki or read that specific chapter, you'll definitely find it. Next up, Dark Designator. Pretty junk on its own. Basically gives your opponent a free card if they have it in their deck to their hand. Next up, Exchange. This was the combo that he used against Merrick to get the Winged Dragon of Ra using this and Dark Designator. This by itself is a good card, just basically allowing you and your opponent to swap one card from each other's hands. It's pretty cool. Next up, continuous spells. The Dark Door helps you stall out, only allowing each player to attack with one monster each turn. Ectoplasmer. Very situational. Sometimes it can screw you over, but for the most part, it's pretty cool. Just get something off the field most of the time. Next up is, let's zoom out, INAL, the Spirit Messages. By themselves, they're pretty useless, but with the next card, they aren't that useless. 2 Destiny Board. His main win condition, basically how he would have won against Yugi if it had gone off for sure. Really cool card. Just like I've always loved the look of this card. It's really amazing to me. Next up, Dark Spirit of the Silent. The artwork is amazing. Effect's alright. Basically, it just negate if an opponent's monster would attack, you would negate that attack and then force another monster they control to attack. Nothing much there, really. And the final card in this deck, Multiple Destruction. If both players have 3 or more cards in their hand, they send their cards in their hands to the bottom of their decks, then draw 5 new cards, and you lose 300 life points for each card thrown back to the bottom of the deck. So yeah, good card, can be risky sometimes. Sometimes you're forced to play it. Just kind of works out that way sometimes. In the end, it's a really good card though. Okay, that has been my Yami Bakura deck profile. He is my favorite character, and Battle City was probably my favorite arc. Yeah, definitely my favorite arc. Just because how many characters were featured in that arc and how cool it was. And like, Bakura is the best villain in that series, if not the entirety of Yu-Gi-Oh! But yeah, if you guys want to see more of this sort of content with character deck profiles, leave your suggestions down in the comments below. Also, if you want to see any other random content, like just any random games you want me to play as one-offs, any other series you want to suggest, maybe just short series or something. And check out my channel, where all my videos are. And that's where I'll be keeping the playlists, which also have the dates of the certain playthroughs that I have going on. Because right now I only have 2. And then basically Wednesday's just for random games or something like this. Saturday I have scheduled for reviews, and Sunday is either just a break or just something special I work on that I want to show you guys. So yeah, as always, thanks for watching, and goodbye for now.